imagine, for just a moment, that you just walk into a high-stakes Fortune 500 boardroom.
Yeah, the heavy glass doors just shut behind you.
Exactly. The noise of the outside world drops away. You take your seat at this massive mahogany table.
Right.
Because for this deep dive, we're actually going to adopt a bit of a strategic role play to, tackle our briefing materials today.
I love this approach.
Yeah. So I'm going to take on the persona of a forward-looking CEO. And sitting across from me is you, our highly analytical Chief Risk Officer.
I am ready for it.
Good. Because our mission today is to unpack this massive structural transformation in the global operating environment.
It really is massive. It's defining who wins and who loses in the modern economy.
Right, and experts are calling this shift the Age of Convergence.
Yes.
We're going to explore how organizations can finally, stop drowning in data and start actually anticipating disruption.
Because right now, they are definitely drowning.
They are. And to kick off this board meeting, there's a really startling fact from our research that we just have to address immediately.
Oh, the data creation stat?
Yeah. 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years alone.
Which is just staggering to think about.
It's insane. Yet, if you talk to executives across the globe, at the World Economic Forum, at leadership summits, they will tell you they are feeling less certain about the future than ever before.
Exactly. We have more information than at any point in human history, but our strategic visibility feels completely clouded.
Right. So let's unpack this from a macro level. As my CRO, tell me, why is long-term competitiveness feeling so fragile right now, despite all this data?
Well, it really comes down to a fundamental change in the anatomy of a crisis.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
To understand why we're facing unprecedented complexity, we have to look at how we've historically managed threats,
Right, the old way of doing things.
Exactly. In the past, risks were treated as totally isolated variables.
Like kept in separate boxes.
Yes. You had an environmental concern over here, a supply chain issue over there.
A cybersecurity threat gets managed entirely by the IT department down the hall.
Exactly. And geopolitical shifts. Those were handled by international teams. They were strictly compartmentalized.
But that world doesn't exist anymore, does it?
It simply no longer exists. We have officially entered the age of convergence.
And that means what exactly for those of us trying to run a business?
It's a period where climate change, cyber threats, geopolitical instability, economic volatility, regulatory shifts, they are no longer separate issues.
They're crashing into each other.
Right. They're continuously interacting. They are converging, mutating, and amplifying one another.
Okay, we need to make this tangible for everyone listening who might be managing a team or a division or an entire enterprise.
Sure.
Let's trace a specific scenario. Walk us through how a seemingly isolated event cascades across these different historically siloed domains.
Let's look at climate change because it's honestly one of the most powerful catalysts for convergence right now.
Okay, let's play it out.
So let's say a severe localized drought hits a major agricultural region in Southeast Asia.
Right. And in the old model, that's categorized simply as an environmental risk.
Exactly. Maybe it causes a localized economic issue, but that's it. But in the age of convergence, that drought affects agricultural yields, which immediately disrupts multi-tiered global supply chains.
So a lack of rain instantly becomes a logistics nightmare.
Yes. And that supply chain disruption creates a scarcity of raw materials, which then triggers food inflation on a macroeconomic level.
Oh, wow. So now it's an economic crisis.
Right. And it doesn't stop there. The physical climate risks and the resulting inflation force insurers to alter their pricing model.
So our premiums go up.
Fundamentally changing insurance markets and increasing capital costs for businesses worldwide, yes.
This is moving so fast.
And meanwhile, the lack of food and economic opportunity drives regional migration.
Which eventually becomes a border issue or political issue.
Exactly. That migration and economic stress sparks geopolitical instability in neighboring regions, which in turn impacts global trade policies and energy markets.
That is terrifying.
What started as a weather event has transformed into a geopolitical and economic crisis.
So the initial trigger was environmental, but the actual damage to our hypothetical company's shareholder value might come from the regulatory or geopolitical fallout months later.
Exactly. And, it happens in reverse, too.
What do you mean?
Consider the increasing frequency and sophistication of cyber threats. Let's say a state-sponsored ransomware group targets a mid-tier logistics provider at a major European port.
So not even a direct attack on a massive enterprise, just a vendor.
Just a vendor. But that localized cyber event shuts down their scheduling software. Cargo ships are forced to reroute.
Which means more fuel, more delays.
Right. The rerouting causes a sudden spike in fuel consumption and creates port congestion across the whole continent.
So now we have supply chain gridlock.
Yes. And that localized bottleneck drives up regional inflation and triggers immediate regulatory scrutiny over maritime cybersecurity standards.
And the markets react to that kind of regulation, don't they?
Oh, instantly. The equities market for shipping panics, altering investment flows.
Wow.
So a single line of malicious code has cascaded into infrastructure failure, supply chain gridlock, economic volatility, and regulatory overhaul.
For those of you listening who are trying to build out, say, a 5-year strategy, think about how terrifying that is.
It changes everything.
Managing risk used to be like playing whack-a-mole, right? A problem pops up in one department, you hit it, you move on.
Right. Very reactionary.
But modern risks are like a row of dominoes on a global scale. You flick the first one, and suddenly the entire chain reaction is racing toward your core operations.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Which brings me to the ultimate executive question. If disruption is this pervasive, how do we actually protect organizational performance without just, hoarding cash and hiding under a rock?
Well, that requires a total shift in our operating model. We have to move toward a framework called organizational resilience economics.
Okay, organizational resilience economics.
Break that down for me.
Historically, resilience. Things like business continuity, risk management, disaster recovery. It was viewed entirely as a defensive mechanism.
Like a cost center.
Exactly. A necessary evil to protect the downside, usually managed by compliance teams.
Just checking boxes.
Right. But because these cascading risks are now a permanent feature of the operating environment, resilience can no longer just be defensive.
So what does it become?
It has to be treated as resilience capital. It becomes a core strategic asset.
Let's define what resilience capital actually looks like on a balance sheet. Are we just talking about bigger insurance policies?
No. It goes much deeper than risk transfer. Resilience capital is structural.
Meaning?
It means having pre-vetted, dual-sourced critical components in your supply chain so you can pivot production in 48 hours.
Oh, I see. It means maintaining strategic idle server capacity or cross-training your workforce so they can step into different roles during a geopolitical crisis.
So it's built-in flexibility.
Exactly. It means holding specific liquidity buffers tied to predictive climate models.
Okay, that makes sense.
The organizations that build this structural resilience, this capital, are the ones that preserve enterprise value and capture market share while their competitors are busy putting out fires.
Right, because if these risks are cascading across domains like a global chain reaction, trying to manage them in isolated departments, in silos, is a complete recipe for disaster.
It guarantees you'll fail.
If my chief information security officer is only looking at cyber and my supply chain director is only looking at logistics, we are going to discover the converging risk way too late.
After the dominoes have already crashed into your revenue streams.
Exactly. But okay, let me put my skeptical CEO hat back on for a second here.
Let's hear it.
We invest millions of dollars in technology. We have enterprise risk management platforms, ESG reporting tools, business intelligence dashboards, and 247 compliance monitors.
Oh, no. The dashboard fatigue is real.
I have literally 10 screens in front of me telling me exactly what my company is doing. Why is the C-suite still missing the big picture?
Because you are falling victim to what is known as the global intelligence gap.
The global intelligence gap. Okay, explain that.
The frustration you're feeling as a CEO is entirely justified. But it stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what those legacy tools are actually designed to do.
Which is what?
The problem isn't a lack of information. You have mountains of data.
Too much data, honestly.
The problem is the inability to connect the environmental, geopolitical, financial, and operational signals together.
Ah, so they don't talk to each other.
Right. Think about the platforms you just mentioned, or traditional giants in the risk space like Moody's or Verisk. By design, they are retrospective.
They tell you what has happened.
Exactly. They excel at that. They track historical data, audit trails, compliance metrics.
But that doesn't help me with tomorrow.
No. In a world of converging, unprecedented risks, looking at historical data to predict the future is like driving a car at 100 miles an hour while only looking in the rearview mirror.
So we are basically confusing the documentation of the past with the prediction of the future.
Precisely.
There's a hard line being drawn here between information and intelligence.
That is the crucial distinction. We have to explicitly break down the difference between the two because they are definitely not interchangeable.
How do you separate them?
Information is retrospective. Data equals what happened.
Okay.
Intelligence is perspective. Intelligence equals what's next.
Wow. Okay. That's a great way to frame it.
Right now, most organizations are stuck operating in the information economy. They are obsessing over historical reporting, trying to optimize past performance.
Rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Basically. But to survive the age of convergence, organizations need to enter the intelligence economy.
Meaning we need new tools.
We need frameworks and tools that don't just describe the past, but generate actionable foresight about the future.
Okay. But if human brains literally cannot process these converging data streams fast enough to spot the dominoes falling.
Because they can't. There's too much data.
Right. And our current dashboards are just telling us what happened yesterday. How are we supposed to bridge this gap? Because we can't just throw an army of human analysts at a problem of this scale. We need a completely new category of technology.
We do. And this is exactly where we see a massive industry-wide paradigm shift occurring.
What's the shift?
The market is developing a next-generation approach designed to create an entirely new category. It's called Executive Predictive Risk Intelligence, or EEPII.
EPI, okay.
And one of the most prominent frameworks leading this charge is a platform called Sophurion Horizon.
Sophurion Horizon.
Yeah, we can use them as a prime example of how the industry is attempting to cross this global intelligence gap.
Okay, let's dig into that architecture. But look, if you just aggregate all of this global data, climate models, geopolitical shifts, cyber threats into one giant platform, my eyes are going to glaze over.
Of course. Nobody wants that.
I don't want raw data. I don't need another alert buzzing on my phone.
Right.
How does an EPRI platform actually transform fragmented data into something I can use for strategic planning?
It does it by strictly enforcing a progression framework.
A progression framework.
Yeah. These new systems don't just dump data onto a screen. They process it through a specific continuum.
Walk me through the steps.
It goes like this. Data leads to information. Information leads to intelligence. Intelligence generates foresight. Foresight enables action. And action builds resilience.
Okay, I like that flow. Data to info to intel to foresight to action to resilience.
Exactly. A platform like Sophurion Horizon acts as an intelligence layer that sits above your existing enterprise systems.
So it's not replacing what I already bought.
No, it doesn't replace your CRM or your financial software or your supply chain management tools. It ingests your internal operational data and then cross-references it with external macro signals.
So it's synthesizing the internal vulnerabilities with external global threats.
Yes.
It contextualizes what's happening outside the building with what's happening inside the building.
Precisely. To use Sophurion as the case study, they utilize a suite of specialized modules to feed into their Horizon layer.
Like what kind of modules?
Well, you have an engine monitoring geopolitical shifts, trade restrictions, and global instability.
Yep.
You have another module tracking physical climate impacts, extreme weather, infrastructure vulnerabilities.
Got it.
And you have a third evaluating cyber threats and operational resilience.
So it pulls all of this together.
Right. Horizon takes all these disparate signals, finds the hidden connections, and provides a unified, holistic view of the interconnected risks threatening your organization's specific footprint.
But let's pause and think about the mechanics of that.
Okay.
If we are pulling in global geopolitical trade data, physical climate models spanning every continent, evolving cyber threat landscapes, plus all of our own internal operational metrics,
It's a lot.
the sheer volume of variables is staggering. How does the system actually spot a meaningful connection? What is the actual mechanism?
This is where artificial intelligence becomes the non-negotiable bridge across the global intelligence gap.
Okay, AI.
The AI isn't just a buzzword here. It is the core analytical engine. The system uses AI to identify what intelligence professionals call weak signals.
Weak signals. What are those?
These are early, subtle indicators of emerging threats that are entirely invisible to human analysts because they exist across completely disparate domains.
Give me an example of how the AI actually recognizes a weak signal. What is it looking for?
It uses advanced semantic analysis and pattern recognition across massive data sets.
So it's not just doing a keyword search.
No, the AI isn't simply looking for the word disaster in a newsfeed. It is constantly correlating variables.
Can you give me a hypothetical?
Sure. For instance, the AI might process satellite imagery showing slightly lower than average crop yields in a specific region of South America.
Okay, on its own, Not a big deal.
Right. On its own, a human analyst might just note that as a minor agricultural anomaly.
Right.
But the AI is simultaneously processing local language news reports, indicating a subtle shift in labor regulations in that same province,
Oh, interesting.
and then cross-referencing that with real-time port congestion data and historical weather patterns.
Connecting the dots.
Exactly. The AI weighs those seemingly unrelated data points against each other, recognizes a pattern that matches historical instances of civil unrest and severe supply chain bottlenecks, and flags it as a converging threat before a single protest has even occurred.
That's incredible.
It sees the connection between a regulatory tweak and a physical supply chain vulnerability long before the dominoes start falling.
But, okay, as a CEO, my primary responsibility is the strategic direction and the governance of this company. If we are relying on an algorithm to predict global disruptions, aren't we essentially outsourcing our strategic decision-making to a machine?
I hear this all the time.
Because I can tell you right now, my board of directors will never approve a black box AI running the company's risk profile.
That is the most common and, frankly, the most vital concern at the board level. But the EPRI framework is not about automated decision-making.
What is it then?
It is built entirely around human-AI collaboration. The AI does not replace executive judgment, it augments it.
How so?
Platforms like Sophurion are engineered to prioritize explainability. When the system provides an insight, it doesn't just spit out a warning saying, do this.
It shows its work.
Yes. It includes a confidence rating and explainable, transparent reasoning that shows exactly which data points led to the conclusion.
Okay, that's much better.
It provides decision-ready strategic recommendations. The goal of the AI is simply to do the heavy lifting of data synthesis, filtering out the noise.
So I can actually make a decision.
Right, so that the board and the C-suite can focus their time on what humans do best. Strategic action based on nuance, context, and experience.
So it translates the complexity into executive-level clarity?
Exactly.
If I log in, I assume it's unifying this into some sort of overarching metric.
Yes. You don't see raw data streams. You see an executive risk score giving you a top-level quantified view of your organizational exposure.
I like a single score.
You also see an emerging risk index prioritizing the new threats you need to watch.
Okay.
And most importantly, you see financial exposure estimates.
Translating the abstract into dollars and cents.
Right, translating a geopolitical or climate risk into potential bottom-line impacts. And you see geographic intelligence mapping exactly where on the globe your specific operational vulnerabilities lie.
That is extremely powerful.
Everything is prioritized based on what needs immediate strategic attention to protect shareholder value.
That makes perfect sense for strategic planning. But knowing about a threat is only half the battle, right?
Very true.
If this system is the brain interpreting these global signals today, how do we mobilize a massive global enterprise to react fast enough?
That's the next frontier.
Because if the AI detects that weak signal in South America, but it takes my executive team 3 weeks to convene a committee, draft a report, and manually adjust our supply chain,
You're too late.
the dominoes have already hit us.
This is where we look at the horizon of this technology. The transition doesn't stop at executive dashboards.
What comes next?
The next phase of this industry-wide evolution is what is known as digital to digital, or D2D integrations.
Digital to digital.
So Sophurion, for instance, envisions a future powered by autonomous integration platforms.
So we are moving from human-AI collaboration to pure machine-to-machine intelligence.
Exactly.
What does that look like in practice?
It's a future where intelligence flows directly between enterprise systems autonomously. Let's use that South American weak signal again.
Okay, the crop yields and labor laws.
Right. The predictive AI detects an emerging geopolitical and agricultural risk that will impact a key raw material. Instead of just sending an alert to a dashboard and waiting for a human to schedule a meeting.
Which takes forever.
Exactly. A D2D platform could automatically trigger adjustments in your organization's enterprise resource planning software, your ERP.
Wait, automatically?
Yes. It could autonomously instruct your supply chain management system to increase orders from a secondary supplier in a different hemisphere.
Without me pressing a button.
It can initiate contingency protocols across your customer relationship management systems with minimal human intervention based entirely on pre-approved executive parameters.
That is fascinating. It's almost like building a biological central nervous system for the enterprise.
That's a great analogy.
Think about it. For those of you listening, when you accidentally touch a hot stove, Your brain doesn't receive a report, convene a committee, and debate whether to move your hand.
No, you'd burn yourself.
Right. Your nervous system instinctively pulls your hand away in real time to protect the body, all before your conscious brain has even fully registered the heat.
Yes.
This D2D architecture does the exact same thing for a corporation. It allows the operational body of the organization to react instinctively to protect itself, while the executive brain focuses on higher-level strategy.
That is the perfect analogy for what the intelligence economy demands. And it highlights exactly why this transition is so urgent for long-term competitiveness.
Because speed is everything.
The organizations that rely on committees and monthly retrospective reports to pull their hand away from the hot stove are going to get burned over and over again.
The risks is just too fast now.
The interconnected risks of the age of convergence simply move too fast for human reaction times alone.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, navigating your own strategic challenges, whether you're a CEO, an investor, or an enterprise decision maker?
It's a wake-up call.
We started this boardroom session by noting that the world is drowning in data, but starved for certainty. The key takeaway from our deep dive today is that in the next decade, competitive advantage won't belong to the organizations with the most data.
No, data is just a raw commodity now.
The winners will be those capable of transforming fragmented global information into actionable foresight.
Moving from the information economy into the intelligence economy.
Exactly.
And, this transition isn't just theoretical boardroom talk.
Oh, not at all.
There is currently an estimated $2.4 trillion actively flowing into the risk, intelligence, and resilience markets.
2.4 trillion.
Yes. The tectonic shift is already underway. Global capital is aggressively moving toward predictive intelligence because the cost of being caught off guard in the age of convergence is now existential.
That $2.4 trillion figure is staggering. It shows that the smartest money in the world knows the game is fundamentally changed.
Without a doubt.
The world of risk is no longer linear. It is deeply interconnected and moving at machine speed.
Very true.
So as we adjourn this strategy session, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over, one that pushes beyond just saving individual companies.
Okay. Let's hear it.
We've spent this deep dive talking about how organizations must use predictive AI and machine-to-machine integrations to anticipate and react to global signals in milliseconds.
Right.
But think about the macro implications of that. If every major Fortune 500 company adopts these identical predictive frameworks,
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
if thousands of enterprise central nervous systems are all analyzing the exact same global signals and reacting autonomously at the exact same moment.
Like a massive automated herd.
Exactly. Does that interconnected simultaneous machine reaction become a massive cascading risk of its own?
A fascinating question.
Are we solving the age of convergence, or are we just automating it? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep anticipating and keep asking the right questions.